Hey guys, welcome back to the Truthandtalespodcast with your favorite host Victoria and
Yemi.
Yay! Welcome back guys.
Yeah.
We're super excited to be recording a video again. Thank you guys so very much for always coming back. Thank you for dealing with our today post, tomorrow don't post, but thank you guys so very much. Remember that we are available on all of your podcast platform. The link will be in the description box below. Also remember that we have our personal channels. Yemi's own is Yemi Ayodeji and mine is Victoria Fash. Make sure that you go to check what we are up to in our personal life. So now you guys know that we always have a truth or a tale, and today we have a truth that we want to share with you, right? So yes, Yemi is going to be taking us through what exactly we are discussing today. So Yemi, over to you.
Right. Thank you guys so much for coming back to listen to us, listen to our conversations. We appreciate you, just as Victoria said. So we're just going to dive straight into it. We have the truth for the day, and it's an interesting conversation. It's one that I know that everybody, we always have one thing or the other to learn from all our conversations. So anyways, today we are talking about the common issues, the common conflicts that we experience in marriage. Not like we in terms of both of us, like in general, like common conflicts that people experience, people encounter in marriages. And specifically to marriages, right? It's not just any other relationship, it's specifically to marriage. Common conflicts that couples face in marriages. We just want to tackle some of them, just to give you guys an heads up, just so if you're married, just to let you know that you're not alone in this, okay? You're not the only person that is probably going insane thinking about why am I not the one that is not getting things right? No. So we're just going to have that conversation. And if you're yet to be married, you're still single, this is just the time for you to have extra information, to just know things that you just might need to think about ahead of time.
Be prepared for.
So we're just going to dive straight into it. So Victoria, do you want to go first? Because I have my list full. Like I have my list.
Just to put a disclaimer or a background to this particular topic, right? So we both, watched a video earlier this week, sometime this week, of a couple who were just discussing some of the common issues they had. And I think what is so interesting, and Yemi was mentioning that before we start recording, is that this is not necessarily a fight that you have at specific times, right? So people in their 1 year, even people in their 8 years and 12 years of marriage, you still find themselves having these issues.
Fun fact, I was watching the video on the day that I was like, it was on our wedding anniversary, our 8th year wedding anniversary ourselves.
So and it's so funny, they also was their 8 years anniversary.
Exactly.
So that you'll be able to give us context. But this is really, and it's not general again, like, some people will have 1 or 2 issues, others will have like separate issues. So basically we'll be discussing and trying to see, because Yemi is 8 years married, I am like almost 3 years married, so we'll be able to compare and contrast to see if this is like issues that we are facing in a different side of marriage. So I think it actually puts like a balance in it, right? Okay, so I think one of the things that they spoke about that I also think like is relevant is sorry, I'm on the wrong side of my notes. Giving compliments. See, if you are on my channel, okay, you know that this was right, one of the things I usually complain about my husband, right? Giving compliment, and I don't know why, for a lot of men especially. I think this is usually like particular to women, because a lot of men, I don't know why they don't see it. Because even in this video, right, when the lady was complaining about, oh, you don't tell me, like, if I dress nice, you don't tell me I look nice and stuff, the guy was like, but you look nice. So why can you not say it? And it's the same thing my husband would say, like, but you look good. My husband would say, I was thinking in my head that I really like your kidney. Why couldn't you just open your mouth and say it, right? And I think initially I used to think that this was something that, in your early years of marriage, and maybe Yemi, you can correct me, maybe that one, maybe when I graduate, because they are 8 years married and they are saying that this is one of the major issues in their marriage. Like, you don't give me complaints, especially, and I think it's even more difficult for people who have just given birth, like, dealing with shedding of weight, of your baby weight, trying to find yourself again, or feeling your body again, and stuff like that. that like you need that validation from your partner. But even outside of that, like, you know, I haven't had a baby yet, but I still need that validation from my partner. And I think it's so easy for us as women to give. Like when my husband dresses up, like the way I will hype him, he's like, it's okay. But why is it that when it comes to, you know, he's trying now? No, my husband is sure he has really improved. And I think this is the idea. You know what we're talking about initially is that the idea is that even though we quarrel about this, we want to see improvement, right? Yeah, that is the idea. We cannot be having this argument 2 years marriage and then 8 years, 12 years we are still having the same issue, right? Yeah. But I think this is one of the common issues that people have. But Yemi, is that you don't care? You know you are madam of chill. If you like, you tell me. If you like, don't tell me.
Oh my god! Actually, when I was thinking about it, I realized that I think I was the one that wasn't really like into giving compliments. So if you like give me compliments, wow. Like don't give me compliments, that's your headache. Because I like hyping myself. So we're together, safe. I'm like dressed up and I'm like giving myself. I'm hyping myself. So you cannot.
Yeah, that's true. Yemi does that every time. Every time we're about to record.
You cannot but hype me. By the time you see me, when you see me hyping myself, you just be like, calm down, relax. Okay, we know you are pretty. We know, but. I think for me, it wasn't that much of a big difference because my husband, even though he didn't give compliments, but he was very particular about my looks, even while we were still dating. So if there was a way I dressed that particular day and he liked, and he probably forgot to say, you look good today, he will use that picture as his wallpaper. For like there's one particular picture of mine that I know that he liked this picture. But on that day when I dressed that way to go and see him at work, I think he didn't compliment me, but that picture is still what he's using as his wallpaper on Twitter till today. That picture is still there, but he didn't say, you look good, you look sweet, But now I don't think I ever complained about it, but I think he started doing that more when I started to talk about my body after giving birth to like my second, because I snapped back quickly with the first one. With the second one, I was even unbothered, but I just didn't like. Because prior to marriage, like my boobs were like I didn't need to wear bra. But you see, after the second, it's like Olympus has fallen. So I was just really like, you know, what has happened? Like I was just really particular about that part of me, and it was always like, what are you like? The hype would the hype just started from there. Like now, you cannot just like. I'm tired. Sometimes I don't want to dress nice in the house because before you know, someone will be looking at you with one kind of eye that I'm afraid for myself. Like, you know? So,
if I catch you for corner,
I don't want any problem for myself. I don't want. But with compliments now, like he's very particular about he's very particular about my looks. From the beginning, he didn't give as much compliments in the beginning, but he's good with compliment. Like I think I'm not the one that is dragging behind with compliment, but he's not he's good with that. So if it's that one, it will get better. Okay, by the time you reach like year 5, 6, 7, 8, it will get better.
I mean mine it's really trying. You know, if you're not good at expressing yourself, or you didn't have that kind of, you know, especially him, like he didn't have women growing up, like they're all boys, and you don't tell a boy you look nice. Like it's not something that is you know, is a part of him. So it's something he has to learn and, you know, and learn to do, right? So but what's your own
picking sides, like putting blame, how would I say it? Like pouring the blame on the other person when there is a conflict, when there is a fight, instead of you accepting ownership in that fight or in that misunderstanding. You pour the blame and you be like, is it not you that did this, or it's not you that did that, it's not because of you I did this, it's not you that instigated this, it's not you that's something that it might not even be the genesis of the fight, but it's something that can add fire to the fight. And I find myself like, this is something I did not like from, like, even with normal people, like not my husband or anything. I don't like putting blame. I don't like, if something has happened, it has happened. Are we finding a solution or are we moving on? That's the way I deal with things. So when there's a misunderstanding, or when there's something and I see you insinuating, maybe you're not even saying it, but you're giving this kind of body language like, if you didn't put the water there now, maybe I wouldn't have poured it on the floor. Or if you didn't put, like, that thing is really annoying. It annoys me to the bone. Like, I don't like it. And for me, it comes off as, especially with when other people are there, it comes up as if you're not united. Like when you put blame, I would rather us have
that's so true.
Let's have a
argument after.
Yes, let's have an argument
or
after.
Conversation.
Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on your husband, or don't put it. And I think this is something that my husband just wanted to acknowledge the fact that this is where the fault is coming from. Like, this is the foundation of this argument that we had, or this fight that we had. Or it's because you did this. He, in his own mind, is going to the root of it. It's going to the foundation of it. But for me, it's like, you don't have to say you did this, of which, at the end of the day, and sometimes for me, on my own end, it will come off as me being self-righteous, because most times when we have arguments, I'm always never the cause of the beginning. That's what I tell myself, right? I'm always never the cause of the argument or the fight from the beginning. It's either something you do that will trigger me, then I'll now maybe give you silent treatment, or maybe I'll pay you back 50-50, and then you'll not be like, oh, you not take up my reaction as the fight. But me, I'll then say, but you did this.
I hate that too. I hate that thing.
I'll not be like, but you did this. It's because you did this. That's why I brought that. And you'll be like, you'll be telling me about, not putting blame, but that's what you're doing. And I'm like, no, I'm not putting the blame. I'm trying to get you to see that your fight is birth. And then it just leads to another level of argument and conversation and all of that. And I'm like, okay, yes, something has been done. Are we moving forward, or are we just, just finding a solution to it? But just kind of like switching blames and not actually dealing with the issue, and switching blame. Like, there's a way you can actually tackle the issue, solve the problem without saying, but if not for you, if you didn't do this, if you didn't do that, you have done something. You've poured water on the floor. Apologize for spilling water. You don't need to apologize for spilling the water and say, next time, don't put the cup here.
You don't put the water there.
You can say that another time. You can say that another time. Like maybe when that time that the heat has passed, and you'll be like, I think you should stop putting cup in this. Let's stop. That's something that my husband has started doing now. So instead of him shifting the blame or saying this is because you do it, after you have mentioned it, later you now come and hear, let's stop doing this, and I'm like, who is blessed? You are who is blessed.
Not to be direct.
It will not be saying, let's stop doing this, and I'm like, okay. There was one recently was saying, let's find time to be homeschooling the children during this holiday, so that it's not just TV they're watching. Let's find time, and I'm saying, okay, let's find time. Tell me the time in your own calendar that you want to put, because you are saying let's. Every time you be saying less, but that's like
you won't go on the problem.
Even for me, I don't need to argue. But that's something that I just really find that couples do, and again I've done before.
Yeah, I think what you said. One point that I got from what you said that I think is also one of the common issues is when I don't know how to say it. When a fight happens and then the fight changes from what we are fighting about, and then it became a matter of how I reacted. I don't know if you understand that. Like when maybe for instance, you did something to me, or my husband did something to me, and I get upset and I decide to go into my shell, or maybe I don't talk about it, and then he now gets upset that I'm not talking, and then the issue now becomes the fact that I'm not talking, not what you did that triggered me not to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, I always think that in marriages, when it comes to issues, two people, there's something like, nobody is a mad person. I mean, if you think I was a crazy person, I always say, my husband says I should stop saying that when we are arguing. Like, I'll be like, am I a mad person? Like, will nothing happen and I'll just be angry? Like, you didn't do anything and I'm just angry. And they say, stop saying you're not a mad person. But you see, that's the thing, right? There's always something that contributes to it, right? So we should always try. And I think it's one of the issues that people face. And I think they also mentioned it in that video that, let us face the main issue before you now talk about how I reacted. Yes. But if you make the issue about how I reacted to the issue, and then you refuse to acknowledge your part in contributing to it, then you have lost me. Right, exactly. You've lost me totally. Let us address the main thing that is causing me to be upset. Apologize for it, and then you can tell me, okay, in the future, can you, instead of putting things to your heart, can you express and let me know this and that, and then we can have that conversation after we deal with the issue. But you see, the problem is when we don't deal with it, you're not saying, hey, you be carrying face, you be So yeah, that's one common issues I think that marriages had, and I suspect, at least for me, I know that we had that, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys have that in ATS side?
Yeah, my reaction was always like, my husband never understood my reaction. It was totally strange to him. He is the kind of person that there's an argument, there's an issue, he says things, which leads me to my next point, which leads to the point that I was going to say, which is not processing information before you speak, right? And this can make some people like fight dirty, or be very disrespectful when you're having an argument, as if the argument will not finish and you guys will not be friends in the next 1 hour or two again, right? One thing with my husband though is that he doesn't fight. I can count the number of times maybe that I would say that, okay, he was saying his mind and he said something that really hurt me. I can't count the number of times he has done that. Trust me, I will remember. But most times it's always about him. There's an issue, he's angry, just talking out of anger and be like, and I'm like, yeah, what's all this rapping for? And the moment you start to do me, I'm somebody that I want to prove to you that.
What's all this rapping for? Your voice is not good.
I know.
Go ahead, please.
I know, really, I know, like from very, like from like teenage years, I know that I have the tendencies to say things, right? So that was one of the reasons why I never wanted to marry my mates, because that person would never know that it's not me being disrespectful, it's just me being me, right? Like sometimes my husband would say, if I ever God forbid, like if I ever lose my job in this house, like I don't know how you will treat me, like you will treat me as if I'm your slave in this house. And I asked him that, okay, now that you have a job, now that you're working, how do I treat you? He said something he doesn't understand. He said that's exactly the way I would treat you if anything happens. But you will take it differently because you're not in a different scenario. So it's not about
so true.
Me being a wicked person not adjusting to your situation. It's just about the environment changing, that you're not thinking that I'm now a bad mouth person or I'm just a mean wife or anything like that. So anyways, my point is that he likes to just speak and just talk about this. You shouldn't do that. He'll just talk and talk, and I'm like, oh, it's me you want to be rapping for. It's me you want to be shouting at. Oh yeah, go on. I now want to prove to you that when you think you can rap, fight has not finished. We just begin. That's I'll now take it up from there. But in the extreme cases, there are times that if you don't process information before you speak, you will tend to oversay, and that's something that I like to do, because I know that I can say things that may be disrespectful, and I don't want to do that. Another reason why I try to take some time out of that, I don't like to resolve things immediately, is because when I'm very angry, or when something is very it's boiling in my mind and I've not processed it fully, when I'm speaking I would cry. And I don't, for me, that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, me
that's
too.
just the way I know better now.
Like it.
Over time, I've cautioned myself that you can't just be crying at anything. Like, you need to put yourself together, put your emotions, together before you. So it now became a practice that I would take time out of that anger, go into my corner, think about it, cry if I need to, and then come back and have a constructive conversation. But my husband is not like that. He wants to speak. He wants to say his mind. He would not say things that will hurt you. He would not say things that will demean you. I think he's more matured because he's the last born. He's lived with some of his elder siblings, and they've been married for a while, and I've seen things that's helped him to become better. So he wouldn't say things that will demean you. Or there was just this one time that we were arguing, and he mentioned something and compared me to somebody that the person was not a bad person, but the person was like a little bit immature. I was really upset that it was just in the heat of it. He did something I didn't like, and it's like, why are you behaving like this? And that for me was really insulting. In me, I wouldn't do that. I would rather go and keep quiet, be silent about it. Minutes later, I'll come and talk about it. So I think one of the conflicts that couples have is not processing information before you speak, and just fighting dirty, then begin, in that moment of not controlling yourself, you say hurtful things to people, and then that will not be where the fight will begin. Again, round two, we just begin from there. So yeah, I think that's something, fighting dirty, saying hurtful things. to each other?
Yeah, for me, I think it's the opposite, right? I mean, we do have that also. We do have that, like, you're upset, and that's my husband. Like, when he's upset, he wants us to trash the issue right now. I am the person that I need a minute, right, to process it, because when I talk, I will say things I don't mean, because when I'm angry, when I'm in that place of hurt, I want to hurt you too, so that you feel the same way I'm feeling, and then I will say things I'm not supposed to say. So that's why I like to take my minute, and and yeah, so that's why, that's something we also had to, like, learn in our marriage, right? And I think the opposite for me is also sweeping things under the carpet. And I think this was one of the things that those people also discussed about, right? So not addressing issues when they happen, right? Like you said, sometimes you don't have to say it that minute, especially when feelings and emotions are involved, but you should always look for time to, like, say things. Because the problem is, and one thing that lady mentioned, she was talking about her husband, is you say I am always hot-tempered, or you say I'm always angry and whatever, but the truth is, what the issue we had the last time, I've not had time to process it. You don't want us to talk about it, because to you, let's just have sex and forget about it. But it doesn't, but I'm the one you did it to, so it's still in my heart. And then something else happened. The problem now is the new thing that happened might not be something big, but because of the pent-up anger and pent-up unaddressed issues I had, it now becomes a bigger thing, right? So that is one of the issues that I think that you have, and I think that's one thing that me and my husband have been very, very particular about. Like, when issues happen, even though we might be, especially my husband, we will talk about it though, right? But even if you're hurt or whatever, when the time passes and you think we can, let us have a construct. Even me, I'm very intentional about that. Like, sometimes maybe 1 week after, I'll just say, let us go back to that thing that happened that day. This thing. Can we look for better ways to, I don't like how you approach it, and then he would tell me his own and stuff like that, and we're able to resolve it. But sweeping things under carpet, not coming to say how you feel, all in the name of trying to maintain peace, it will end up becoming a chaos when push comes to shove, right? So yeah, that's it, dude. Is that a problem for you? 8 years,
right? I think now we've just been able to manage it a lot better, because now I think now it's just a lot better, and which is what I think that marriage would be like. The more that's how it should be. Like, the older you get, you should have fought some battles. You should have had some arguments that you would, over time, you would get better with. So, like, before, for example, my husband would say things. It would take time, and it would last for months. I'll be there thinking about ways to punish him and things like that. But now I just know that it's village people that are at work. And he's learned not to do that. I've also learned to be quick to forgive. So over time, the time frame of keeping those arguments or those fights has reduced. So it makes it easier and quicker for us to address those issues. So we'll have an argument now, to the point that I was saying that my son was saying that we fight, that he has never seen us fight. I'm thinking to myself, you don't know what excuse me, boy. You don't know what's going on. So it's because it's just quick for us to, like, get it over with. Sometimes we'll have this argument in the morning. When he comes to pick me up or something, we'll have the conversation in the car before we get home. And by the time we have reached the house, we are done with it. So it's just a lot quicker now. And I think another thing that I think would cause arguments or fights in marriage is not understanding your partner, not understanding your spouse. And this can be, it can be a full, like, a bulky point, right? Let's say, for example, your husband, like we've been saying now, your husband is the one that wants to, like, doesn't want to address issue. Maybe he wants to have a constructive conversation. Like me, now I know my husband that whatever he says out of his mouth, he has not given it much thought to. He has not, it's not like he deliberately has kept something at the back. Like me, for example, if we're having a fight and I say something to hurt you, best believe that I've been thinking about it for days. Don't even think it just fell out of my mouth. Best believe that I've been thinking about the way to use that thing to insult you for days, because I'm very calculating. And that's me. Don't even think, babe, it fell out of my mouth. It's in one corner of my mind. But if my husband comes and say, see the way you hit, like this thing, I'm telling you, it just came randomly from maybe he just finished watching one Yoruba
and
film.
he just said it.
And then you were having an argument, and his mind just picks that thing that is just random. But at the start, I did not know that it's just random. I didn't, and I'll be thinking that why would you say that to me? And I think this is something that they mentioned as well in that video where the husband was saying when you say things to him, he's quite sensitive, and he said words hurt him more than anything. That's why he rather be calm. Because he doesn't want to give the same thing that he doesn't like to take, right? So he would rather be calm. And that's the thing for me. Words hurt me as well. So when my husband initially used to say things just because, just so that he would say it to hurt you, to get you to do something, for me, I'm like, why did that come back? Where is that coming from? Is it because of my, yes, I'm thinking too deep. And when we now start to have that conversation, he's thinking that, when did he say that? He didn't say it, and I'm like, you said it. Like, he didn't say
That's
it.
My husband
like,
too.
Do you want me to record
That's
you?
My husband too.
But me.
Oh my God! It's like you are recording our conversation. That is the
I'm telling you.
I'll be like, I'll say, next as we are talking, I'll be recording our argument what we're having because every time my memory. See, if you say my memory does not forget, I will tell you exactly what you said when you said it, what you were doing when you said it, and everything. My husband will say, I didn't. You did, sir. I'm not. You did.
I think the way my memory works, it's so bad that my friends' arguments that I witnessed, they will call me years later. Like, do you remember the argument? And I will download it for them the way it happened. That's the way it is for me. So it took him time to understand that. For me, those things are deep. It's not something that he will just be throwing words and he will not be like So immediately, if gradually when he said things that he doesn't mean he will not be like, but I don't really mean that thing. Even himself will understand that, it's not himself that he's speaking to, you understand? So over time I learned that this one does not even, because the next 2 minutes he has forgotten what he said. Me, I will not be there. 3 days later, I'll be fasting over something that somebody did not even remember what they said. A line that they picked from one Yoruba film, So I learned that, that's not the kind of person. He would not intentionally hurt you. But if I say things, I remember like a few days ago he did something and I was like, okay, I will get you. And then there's this peanuts that he really likes to eat. I get to hide it just because of what he did. Like, I will hide this thing from you. He kept asking me. I said, I don't know where it is. Later I brought it out like, I didn't intentionally. I found it. This is it. I just forgot where I kept it. After I had finished eating it and everything, I said, I did not forget to keep it. I intentionally kept it. He said he knows. He knows. He just agrees with that. She is me. He knows. I just laughed like we just laughed about it. I mean, like, we just smart together. Like, it's me and you in this life. It's me and you. Like, he already knew that I would do something funny, but he just don't know which angle. So even when I do those things and they already get me, I'll just be like, I need to develop new strategy. I need to. But anyway, my point is
let's move on to the next point.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, right, one issue we had really at the beginning of our marriage, like really, really early, like a few months into our marriage is, and I think most marriages have, is when you're fighting as if you're on different teams, you're trying so hard to be right, or the other person is trying so hard to be right. But at the end of the day, really, the two of you are trying to fight towards one goal. And I remember when I realized that was an issue, I had to call my husband, like, okay, we need to really be constructive in how we have arguments. Yoruba will say kaku, right? So because we're fighting doesn't mean we should kill ourselves, because at the end of the day we're trying to achieve a healthy and happy marriage, right? So, and I told him that the way I see our marriage, and I think I've said this once on my channel, that is like the two of us, the marriage is a boat and the two of us are in it. I would never want to do anything to make you sink, and I know you will never want to do anything, because at the end of the day, if I do anything to make that boat sink, the both of us sinks inside, right? So when we have an argument, we always have to see it through that lens. Like, we are both trying to fight towards the same thing, and not, fighting as if we are on different teams. We are actually on the same team. So instead of fighting to be right, we should fight to make the situation right? So I think that is also part of the understanding aspect that you're talking about, right? But the other thing that I think has, like common issues in marriages is, hiding things from your partner, right? There's nothing I hate as much as you did something and then I am finding out from a third party, or I get to find out eventually and you don't tell me. And to be honest, my husband used to do this before we got married, when we're dating, right? And then I realized that, when we got married, it was me. I did it like a couple of times, maybe once or twice, right? And even him, it's like maybe once or twice. But I realized that even those times, it was really, really difficult for me, because I don't, and that lady said it in the video also, that, I see you as my person, I see you as my guy, and whatever. It's more, I see you as my best friend. We can tell ourselves anything. So you not telling me that you did certain things, or me finding out eventually that you did certain things, it makes me feel like, boy, I'm not trustworthy. And I know that, the partner will always argue that, not her, I'm just talking generally, it's like, oh, it's not about you, it's about me. No, you might think it's about you, but to me, I feel like maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough wife, or an understanding wife enough for you to be able to open up to me. So hiding things from each other is one of the biggest issue of whether it's finances, maybe you made some purchases and you don't want me to know. That's the 2 times that I say, in short, even my husband knows too, it's always money. It's always maybe you collected money from somebody that you didn't tell me about, because that I will complain that why did you collect money from that person, or you spend certain money that it's your money, you can spend your money, but why did you tell me? I think that's one of the issues that I had my husband. It's my salary, it's my money, and I know that if I spend it and I tell him, then it will not beat me, he won't do anything. I just think that okay, let us be prudent, or we need to undo this and that, but I won't tell him. And then when he now finds, I'll be like, but why did you tell me that you did it? Or normally it's not even that I use it to buy something. It's usually because I sent money to somebody, or I gave somebody money without talking to him first, right? That is one of the biggest issues that we used to have in our marriage. Like, whatever money you want to give, even him, whatever, he always let us have a conversation first. But me, out of impulse, before you know what's happening, somebody call me, send the way I'm saying, before I know, then I don't have money, and I'll be asking him for money. But what happened to the money that just came, or the money I gave you yesterday, or the money? I will not say, what do you mean? Are you trying to, instead of me to explain, I'll not say, what do you mean?
Are you controlling me?
Are you exactly? So because you gave me money now, or because I'm asking for money, madam, what did we carry? What did we throw? What did you catch? Why are you fighting? That's the mother say you have done something. What happened? Now I want to know what exactly happened to that money, right? So I think hiding things is not just about money. Like, even sometimes it's just easy conversation you had with somebody you didn't say. The fact that you didn't tell me, if I get to hear it from somebody else, now I'll be thinking something else, like something is up. Because no matter how much you tell me that nothing happened, why didn't you tell me that you had that conversation? Why didn't you tell me that the person tried to make a move on you? I'm not saying this did not, just for clarity, did not happen in my marriage. I'm just saying generally, like, hiding things from each other is one of the biggest reasons why couples fight. But
that's a huge one. That's a very big one, because nobody wants to find out things. Nobody wants to be surprised by. I mean, it's a different thing that you're building a house yourself. Even that one, don't build a house and surprise me. Let me know when you start laying the block. You can surprise me by buying the land, but don't build a full-blown house. I need to know where my room will be. I need to. You're not telling me surprise. No. Don't shock me. I can't shock your ancestors. Don't shock me. But anyways, that's a big one. My husband and I were watching a movie, and I didn't know, out of reflex, the couple, right? The woman made a decision that she didn't tell the husband, and when the consequence came, she had to bear the consequences, but then it would affect the man, right? And I didn't know when I just shouted, why didn't you tell your husband? My husband looked at me like, it's film, calm down. But it so upset me. Another one happened again. I said, this is case number 2. I said, calm down, it's film. Anyways, but it really can show, like, one small decision that you think that, oh, this is quite silly, oh, this is quite small. It might it's something to look out for. And this is something my husband used to complain about me. So before, I'm trying to get better. I think it's just something that I wasn't like that before. It's just something that came with issues of life. Now there's a lot to do. I have kids, this one. So and I think I'm just going to add to that point that even when it is not something you're interested in, you still have to say, or even if it's not something that you're used to. For example, I'm not the kind that will carry the kids to the park and go and be playing, or be looking for the next amusement park, or be looking for the next this. That's what my husband can be researching where next to take the kids to. So if somebody should give me an information on where to take the kids to, and I don't share it with him, he takes it personal.
Oh wow.
He will take it personal and say it's because I'm not interested in it. But me, that's just normal. I'm just like, okay, like it's just information. But that small thing, he will just be serious about it and be like, you didn't say. I'm like, hey, yeah, go there now. Now you know, go there. But it's not the best. It's not the best. So anyway,
let's give our last point.
I think yeah, I think for me this is actually the last point that I have written down. For me, let me even look at the thing again. Where is it? Right. Okay. I think for me the last point on my end be one of the things that I think that causes conflict in marriage is, you know, assuming your partner or your husband or your wife should know certain things. Assuming they should be sensitive to know certain things. For example, that's something I used to accuse my husband of a lot while we're still in the early days of marriage. Like his lack of sensitivity. I used to complain that he really was insensitive. But then he was insensitive. I was just telling him that he was insensitive. I was not showing him exactly what I need him to be sensitive about. I was not telling him exactly what I need him to be sensitive about. I'm just like, oh, you're so insensitive. Oh, you're so insensitive. And I'm like, you know, and I always say that when a conflict as a reason, when there's already a conflict, and I'm saying you're not sensitive. So it's like attributing that insensitivity to the conflict. But I meant it like generally. You don't know. Like for example, then when I just like maybe hit my leg and miss my step and I'm about to fall, I expect you to just say sorry. I don't expect you to say watch where you're going. No, that I don't want to hear watch where you're going. Rather keep quiet or say sorry. I don't want to hear what skinny cock. I don't want to hear. Just say sorry. But then I used to say that you're so insensitive. But I never said, you know, when things that you see going wrong, don't assume that I should know. And he will be telling, when I mention, he'll be telling that, but you saw this chair in the way now. Just say, I'm like, that's not common sense. It's not. Don't tell me about just say sorry. Just move on. If you can't do anything to help, don't say anything. Or like in those cases, example things like that. And I used to be like, you're very insensitive, but I wouldn't say like. I think, for example, with this even compliment thing, some people will just tell their husband like, can't you see? You're not doing something right. There's something you're not doing right. Instead of telling them that, like me,
especially for men that can be very clueless.
They can be very clueless. So if you don't like not saying exactly what you want them to do and expecting them to just know it is a problem. So even if you've said it a few times and they're not changing, show them exactly. There are so many memes of women buying flour, open door, dump it on demand, quickly run out, and then open the door, and they're like, they are sending a message that buy me flour. I want you to buy. So anyways, you know, assuming that your partner is insensitive or not doing what you want them to do without actually telling them and showing them is something. Tell them, show them, let them know exactly what you want them to do for you. Yeah, you know, to make you happy. So I think that's one for me.
I think that's essential. Like letting them know what you want is one of the biggest issues. Like assuming that your partner should know is one of the biggest reasons why people fight in marriage. Is like, why do I have to say it especially if I've told you once or I've told you twice? You cannot tell me I used to say that you cannot tell me you don't know. My husband say I don't know. Right? So
remind me again.
Yeah, so you need to always like, you know, I know it can be very frustrating, like especially when it comes to something like compliments. I don't want to be asking you every time, but exactly. You know, you should know by now because I've spoken about it a number of times, right? So yeah, but communication is key. You cannot but communicate, and if it's something you want, say it as much as possible until you get what you want, right?
You know, we are still supposed to do a video on effective communication
in marriage, right? Yeah,
still not done that
I think we will do that video maybe next, right? Maybe our next truth, right? I think the last one for me is scolding your partner. I think, you know, the Bible says love your wife respect your husband, train your children. But I think sometimes we mix it up, right? Especially women. We go into marriage with the mindset that we will train our husband. We train our husbands, and then we love our children. And that's not how it's supposed to be, right? So you marry a man and you know that this is who he is. You know this is his character and everything, and you decided to go into it with him. Yes, we all evolve. Yes, we all become better versions of ourselves and all of that. But I will not be scolding you every time you have issues, or talking to you like you're a child. I hate that. My husband does not do it, for record, right? But I remember when we first got married, when we just got married, right? There are certain ways you talk, like he wants to pass a message across, and it's like, or maybe it's the way it comes across to me, or it came across to me at the time. I'm like, if you want to talk to me like you're talking to your colleague, not like you're talking to whatever. But then that is maybe just one occurrence, right? But sometimes I realize that I don't want to go into those people's because they are going through their own process, but I've seen it happen in lots of times in marriages, right, where the woman wants to like make the man be who their ideal man is in their head, right? To be honest, you are not 100% what your husband wanted in a woman, neither is he 100% what you wanted, but you saw enough in him to decide to go into marriage with him, and you saw enough in her to want to go into marriage with her. So when issues occur, don't be talking to them anyhow. Don't be rude in your conversation. You always see your husband or your wife as a partner, not someone subordinate, not someone not a child, even when they are behaving like a child, because trust me, they will behave like children sometimes. I'm like, why are you? Well, act your age now, right? Not in an insulting way. Yeah. Right, but there are times I'm like, so, well, why are you acting like a child? Stuff like that. But we don't say that to each other. Just to be clear, we've never said that to each other. But I'm just saying that sometimes that we act, and be like, why are you doing like that?
And you be thinking like,
but you're bigger than this. In your head, don't go and say that. Because you can land in a very bad place, right? But you see, stuff like that will happen. But how do you communicate in that aspect? How do you, you are not training your partner. You're supposed to love them, right? So if when you were dating, is a person that when he comes back, he off his shoe, like my husband, when he married me, he saw me that I'm the one that wear one slippers everywhere. When I got to his house, he has slippers for bedroom, slippers for bathroom, slippers for living rooms. The one I wear to bathroom is the one I wear to the kitchen, and he doesn't like it, right? But you see, initially the way he was going about it was he was always nagging me like, you cannot, I will not change overnight, right? And I had to let him understand. But now I've become, even in short, it's me now that once bathroom slippers there, I enter sleep. Now if you do it around me, I'm the one that will get upset, right? So it takes time for me to us to adjust to each other, but don't try to train me to be who you are. I'm not a dog, right? And I'm not your child, right? So
yeah, I think that's really a good one. Let us know in the comments, what do you guys think? Let us know, what are the common arguments. If you're married, what are the common arguments that you've had that you've resolved? And if you are single, what are the common things that you've seen people argue about? Maybe your parents, aunties. Let us just know your thoughts in the comment section. I really want to say that regardless of what we've said about conflict and things like that, it's very important to know that you and your husband or your wife can never be 100% perfect for each other. There will still be friction. There will still be times that you would have to have arguments, have those conflicts. But the most important thing is to have a good conflict resolution method that works for your family, right? Somebody might be the one that scolds more than the other person. The other person should then be more forgiving than the other person. So you will never get the perfect balance. If you have the perfect balance, that's absolutely fine. God bless you, and continue to make your marriage work. But we are always not 100% perfect, and we will continue to learn more. But the most important thing is, as your marriage progresses, let the level of friction reduce, because you get to understand yourself more. So let's just not think that we are going to find someone who is perfect, who will not do any of these things, who will not trigger you, no, you may never find that. But the most important is that you're managing it, the person compliments you, you people have one goal and all of that. So so that nobody will get it twisted. That the purpose of this video is to say, but Victoria and Yemi are doing it. Means I can go and give 50-50 with my husband. I did not send you message. I didn't.
We didn't even say that, right?
All right, Victoria, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that it's all good. Yeah, I think it's all good. Yeah.
All right. So let us know what you guys think in the comments. As always, our podcast podcast is available on all the podcast platforms. Name it, we are there. And there will be links in the description box. In the last video, someone mentioned about the links to our personal channels not working. It has been corrected, so you can use the links in the description box. It would work just fine, okay? If it doesn't work, let us know immediately, like within seconds it will be fixed, okay? But it's all sorted. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video. As always, we remain your favorite host. Before I say that, don't forget to subscribe. Do not forget to subscribe. Like this video before you go, okay? Thank you. So as always, we remain your favorite host, Yemi and
Victoria. We'll see you guys next
See you again soon.
Bye.